The scream tore through the crowded Brooklyn subway car like a shattered bottle, sharp and irreversible. Isaiah froze mid-stride, his rainbow-striped scarf catching the fluorescent lights as heads whipped toward the sound. A homeless man collapsing in the corner, clutching his chest, his ragged coat pooling around him like spilled ink. "Help! Somebody! He's dying!" Isaiah's voice cracked the stunned silence, but all he saw were averted eyes, the collective flinch of a city too jaded to care. In that heartbeat, Isaiah's world narrowed to the man's labored gasps, the acrid tang of sweat and urine hitting him like a wave. He dropped his sketchbook, pages of wild-fashioned designs fluttering to the grimy floor, and lunged forward, yanking off his oversized, sequined denim jacket without a second thought. The fabric, a thrift store Frankenstein of patches and embroidery he'd sewn himself, billowed as he draped it over the stranger's trembling frame. "Breathe, man. Just breathe. I'm here," Isaiah murmured, his hands steady despite the chaos erupting inside him. The jacket's metallic threads caught the light, a ridiculous beacon in the dim car, but it was warm, insulating against the chill seeping from the man's skin. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, murmurs rippling like aftershocks. "Look at that queer getup," someone snickered from the back, the word queer landing like a slap, laced with the old venom Isaiah knew too well. He'd heard it since high school in Queens, where his flair for color, vintage vests over band tees, boots polished to a punk shine, marked him as the easy target. But right now, none of that mattered. He pressed 2 fingers to the man's neck, counting pulses that stuttered like a broken engine. "Stay with me," Isaiah whispered, his own heart hammering. The train lurched to a stop at the next station, doors hissing open to a rush of indifferent commuters. By the time the paramedics arrived, the man was stabilized, his color returning under the jacket's absurd glow. Isaiah stood back, jacketless and shivering in his thin undershirt, as they loaded the stranger onto a stretcher. One medic clapped his shoulder. That rap might have bought him those extra minutes, kept him from going into shock. Isaiah nodded numbly, retrieving his scattered sketches, the weight of averted gazes pressing on him like the subway's humid air. As the doors closed on the emptying car, he caught his reflection in the window, wild curls framing a face too soft for the hardness he'd built around it, eyes the color of storm clouds holding secrets he wasn't ready to spill. Back above ground, the November wind off the East River bit through his clothes, carrying the faint rot of low tide. Isaiah huddled into his scarf, the only remnant of his armor, and pulled out his phone. No messages from Adrian, the one person who'd get it without explanation. They'd met 6 months ago at a queer art pop-up in Bushwick. Adrian, with his sharp jaw and sharper wit, sketching graffiti tags while Isaiah draped models in upcycled chaos. "You're a walking protest," Adrian had said that night, his laugh warm as he traced a finger along the fringe of Isaiah's vest. It was the first time someone saw his style not as a punchline, but as poetry. But tonight, the silence from Adrian stung. Isaiah fired off a text. "Subway hero or fool? Saved a guy with my jacket. Miss your voice." He pocketed the phone and trudged toward his tiny walk-up in Bed-Stuy, the brownstones looming like judgmental elders. Inside, the apartment was a riot of fabric swatches and half-finished garments, sewing machine humming faintly from earlier that evening. He collapsed onto the futon, the adrenaline crash leaving him hollow. Why did saving a life feel like losing a piece of himself? The mockery echoed in his head. The snickers, the slurs. In a city that preached reinvention, Why did reinvention still cost so much? Sleep came fitful, haunted by the man's eyes, grateful, fleeting, mirroring Isaiah's own hidden fractures. He'd grown up in a brownstone not unlike this one. Father a stoic MTA mechanic who fixed trains but couldn't fix the silence after Isaiah came out at 16. "You're my son, but this ain't us," his dad had said, voice cracking over cold coffee. Mom tried, with church potlucks and pray it away pamphlets, but the rift widened. Fashion became his rebellion, threads weaving stories his family couldn't hear. Now, at 24, he hustled as a freelance stylist for indie shoots, dreaming of a line that screamed authenticity in a world that whispered conformity. Morning light filtered through cracked blinds, rousing him to the buzz of his phone. Adrian's reply, "Hero, always. Meet me at the pier? Got something to show you." Isaiah smiled despite the ache, pulling on a thrifted kimono over jeans that hugged his lean frame like a second skin. The outfit was pure him, layered, loud, unapologetic. As he stepped out, a neighbor's kid on a stoop bike pointed and giggled. "Fairy boy," the tyke yelled, parroting words too big for his mouth. Isaiah forced a wave, heart twisting. Kids learned fast in these streets. The pier stretched into the gray Hudson, ferries cutting wakes like sighs. Adrian waited at the end, bundled in a wool peacoat that made his broad shoulders look eternal. His dark hair was tousled by the wind, hazel eyes lighting up as Isaiah approached. "You look like you wrestled a hurricane and won," Adrian said, pulling him into a hug that smelled of coffee and canvas. They kissed briefly, salt-lipped and real, the kind of affection that still surprised Isaiah after years of hiding. Over steaming cups from a food truck, Isaiah spilled the subway story, words tumbling like loose beads. Adrian listened, chin propped on his hand, the artist in him absorbing every detail. "That's you," is turning trash into treasure. "That jacket? It's not just fabric. It's your soul stitched in." His fingers brushed Isaiah's wrist, tracing the pulse point where a leather cuff hid old scars from restless nights. Adrian knew them all, the ones from razor blades in high school bathrooms, the deeper cuts of rejection. He'd patched more than clothes. But as they walked back, arms linked, a shadow crossed Adrian's face. "My roommate's been on my case about. Says I'm wasting time with the flamboyant type." He laughed it off, but Isaiah heard the fracture. Roommate, code for Tyler, the straight-laced finance bro who'd tolerated their relationship until it inconvenienced his bro code. "Ignore him," Isaiah said, squeezing tighter. "We're not wasting anything." That night, at Adrian's loft in Williamsburg, exposed brick and half-painted murals, tension simmered beneath the surface. They made love slow and fierce, bodies mapping familiar territories, but Isaiah caught Adrian's gaze drifting to his phone. A text from Tyler. "No doubt. Dude, that guy's gonna drag you down." Isaiah pushed it away, losing himself in Adrian's murmurs of "mine, always mine," yet doubt crept in like fog off the river. How long before the mockery seeped into them? Weeks blurred into a rhythm of auditions and late-night sewing sessions. Isaiah landed a gig styling for a queer indie film shoot in the Village, his designs draping actors in layers of defiance. "This scarf? It's a noose for bigots," he quipped to the director, earning laughs that felt like armor. Adrian tagged along one day, sketching behind the scenes, his presence a quiet anchor. But Tyler's barbs grew bolder. Text to Adrian Isaiah glimpsed. "Style over substance? Pass." Then came the party, a warehouse rager in Red Hook thrown by mutual friends from the art scene. Isaiah arrived in his piece de resistance, a floor-length coat pieced from vintage flags and denim scraps, epaulets of bottle caps glinting like stars. Heads turned, whispers followed. Isaiah's at it again, drag king or just confused? A voice slurred from the bar. He laughed it off, martini in hand, until Tyler cornered Adrian in the kitchen, voice low but carrying. You deserve better than that circus act. Real men don't prance. Adrian's face hardened, but he didn't deny it. Didn't defend. Just nodded, eyes on the floor. Isaiah watched from across the room, the coat suddenly heavy as lead. Betrayal bloomed hot in his chest. Not the words, but the silence. He slipped out into the night, the warehouse's bass thumping like a dying heart. Rain slicked the cobblestones, mirroring the tears he refused to shed. Home was a cab ride away, but solitude felt like the only safe harbor. Isaiah didn't sleep that night. The rain pattered against his window like accusatory fingers, each drop replaying Tyler's sneer, Adrian's averted eyes. By dawn, the apartment felt like a cage of his own making, bolts of fabric mocking him from every corner, remnants of dreams stitched with hope now frayed. He brewed coffee strong enough to scour regrets, scrolling through his phone for distractions. Instagram feeds of flawless queer icons in Paris couture, far from Brooklyn's grit. But likes couldn't fill the void Adrian had left. A knock shattered the quiet. Isaiah froze, half expecting ghosts. It was Mrs. Rivera from downstairs, her apron dusted with flour, holding a foil-wrapped plate of arepas. Mijo, you look like death warmed over. Eat. She was the building's unofficial abuela, a Puerto Rican widow who'd adopted him after spotting his late-night tears through the fire escape. No questions about his fancy get-ups. Just plates of food and stories of San Juan carnivals where everyone dressed like kings. He let her in, the scent of cornmeal a brief bomb. Rough night, he admitted, sinking onto the futon. She eyed the chaos, picking up a half-sewn vest with silver buttons like tiny shields. This is armor, Isaiah. Wear it proud. My Carlos, he was like you, colors brighter than the sun. They called him Maricon, but he danced anyway. Her voice softened, eyes distant. Carlos, lost to AIDS in the 90s, a specter she'd honored with rainbow flags in her window. Isaiah swallowed hard, the story a mirror to his own fears. By noon, resolve hardened. He texted Adrian, we talk. Now. My place. The response was swift. On my way. I'm sorry. When Adrian arrived, wind-rumpled and hollow-eyed, Isaiah didn't let him speak first. That silence last night, it cut deeper than any slur. They stood in the doorway, the air thick with unsaid words. Adrian reached for him, but Isaiah stepped back. Arms crossed over a simple tee that felt too plain, too exposed. I froze. Tyler's my oldest friend. Knew me when I was straight passing in Ohio, hiding who I am. Hearing him say that, it hit old wounds. Adrian's voice broke, hazel eyes pleading. Ohio, the conservative cradle Adrian had fled at 18. Trading cornfields for concrete after a brutal coming out that left him couch surfing in Manhattan. They'd bonded over that shared exile, late-night confessions under subway rumble. But you're not old wounds. You're my future. Isaiah wanted to believe it, to melt into the kiss Adrian offered, soft, urgent, tasting of mint and desperation. Instead, he pulled away. Then prove it. Cut Tyler out, Or at least call him on his shit. I can't be your secret style statement. The words hung heavy, a gauntlet thrown. Adrian nodded. Fierce. Done. Tonight, they spent the afternoon tangled in sheets, reclaiming territory with touches that mapped apologies. But doubt lingered, a shadow in the sunlight slanting through blinds. True to his word, Adrian confronted Tyler that evening over beers at their usual dive, McSorley's in the East Village. Isaiah waited outside, chain-smoking menthols he swore off months ago, the sawdust-scented air doing little to calm his nerves. Voices rose through the cracked window, Tyler's bluster. Come on, man. It's just jokes, met by Adrian's steel. Jokes that hurt the man I love? We're done. A chair scraped, footsteps thudded. Tyler stormed out, brushing past Isaiah with a glare that said you ruined this. Adrian followed, face flushed with victory. It's us now. No more half measures. Relief washed over Isaiah like the first warm day after winter, but it was fragile. They celebrated with street falafel and a walk through Washington Square, where buskers strummed folk tunes under arching sycamores. Adrian's hand in his felt like a promise, fingers interlaced over calluses from charcoal sketches. Remember our first date? You in that velvet blazer, me spilling wine on it, Adrian teased, pulling him close. Laughter bubbled up, easing the knots. For a moment, New York felt like there's a mosaic of grit and glamour where two misfits could carve space. But the city had other plans. Isaiah's film gig wrapped with buzz, his designs featured in a teaser trailer that went semi-viral on TikTok. Comments flooded, slay, king, mixed with what even is this clown show? The duality stung, but exposure meant opportunities. A boutique in Soho reached out for a pop-up, his urban nomad line, coats that doubled as tents, scarves with hidden pockets for the unhoused. It's practical poetry, he told the owner, a non-binary sculptor named Jax who got it immediately. Adrian threw himself into support mode, co-designing graphics for the event, bold prints of intertwined hands against cityscapes. Their loft nights turned collaborative, laughter echoing as they draped each other in prototypes. One evening, Adrian modeled a capelet of recycled billboards, twirling dramatically. Am I fierce enough? Isaiah tackled him onto the rug, kisses trailing down his neck. Fiercer than a Times Square billboard. Intimacy deepened, not just bodies but souls. Adrian whispering vulnerabilities from his closeted youth, Isaiah sharing sketches of a wedding vest he'd never admit was for them. Yet cracks spiderwebbed. Tyler's absence left a void Adrian filled with overcompensation. Late calls to Isaiah during work trips, texts laced with miss you that bordered on needy. And the pop-up loomed, a high-wire act. Invites went out to the art crowd, including old high school friends Isaiah hadn't seen since graduation. Don't go if it'll hurt, Adrian urged, but Isaiah waved it off. Time to own it. The night arrived crisp and electric. Fairy lights strung across the boutique's vitrines like captured stars. Isaiah's pieces hung like defiant banners. A bomber jacket with LED threads that pulsed like heartbeats, pants reinforced for urban treks. Guests milled, drag queens in full regalia, influencers snapping selfies, Jax hyping the mic. Adrian hovered, proud and poised in a shirt Isaiah had monogrammed with their initials intertwined. Then they came, the ghosts from Queens High. Mark and crew, beers in hand from the bar across the street, faces flushed with liquid courage. Well, if it isn't the runway reject, Mark drawled, eyeing Isaiah's ensemble, a tailored suit of mismatched plaids, Bowtie askew like a rebel flag. Laughter rippled, cutting through the chatter. Isaiah's stomach dropped, but he straightened, smile sharp. Evening, gentlemen. Drink. They circled like sharks, Tyler's echo in their jabs. Still playing dress-up? Thought you'd grow out of that phase. Adrian stepped forward, arm around Isaiah's waist. Phase? This is art. Back off. Tension crackled, the crowd sensing drama. Mark smirked. Protecting your pet project. Ade, careful. He might bedazzle your balls next. The slap of words landed, but it was Adrian's flinch that broke Isaiah. He excused himself to the back room, breath ragged, the suit suddenly a costume too tight. Jax followed, offering water and wisdom. Haters are just mirrors of their own ugly. Shine anyway, Isaiah nodded, but inside, the old wounds reopened. Visions of lockers slammed in his face. Fags scrawled on his binder. Adrian found him there. Stormy. I should have decked him. Isaiah shook his head, pulling him close. No violence. Just us. They emerged together, hands linked, facing the room like gladiators. The night salvaged itself. Sales ticked up. A queer mag scout took cards, but the encounter lodged like shrapnel. Later, in bed, Adrian traced Isaiah's spine. I love every stitch of you, but sleep evaded Isaiah, the mockery a lullaby of doubt. As winter deepened, their bond tested further. Adrian's gallery show approached, a solo exhibit of street portraits that captured New York's underbelly. Isaiah styled the opening. Him in a velvet tuxedo jacket with glowing lapels, Adrian in slim chinos and a silk shirt that whispered against skin. The space buzzed, critics sipping Prosecco, collectors nodding approval. Isaiah mingled, his presence a quiet force, deflecting stares with charm honed from years of deflection. But midway through, a whisper campaign started. Mark had posted pics from the pop-up, captioned when your bro dates a walking thrift store explosion face with tears of joy no homo. It spread through group chats, reaching Adrian's phone mid-toast. His face paled, thumb hovering over delete. Isaiah caught it, the betrayal fresh. They're poisoning you against me. Adrian deleted, furious. Screw them. You're my muse. Yet the poison seeped. Arguments flared over small things. Adrian snapping at Isaiah's endless fabric piles. Isaiah accusing him of embarrassment at parties. One night, after a double shift, Adrian came home late, smelling of whiskey and regret. Tyler's back in town. Wants to talk. Isaiah's laugh was bitter. Reconcile with the asshole who called me a circus act? Adrian's silence was damning. He's family. I need closure. The door slammed behind Isaiah as he stormed out, wandering the frozen streets until dawn. Betrayal wasn't a single cut. It was a slow bleed. Dawn painted the Williamsburg Bridge in bruised purples, the East River below a sluggish vein carrying Isaiah's rage downstream. He sat on a bench, numb fingers clutching a thermos of cooling coffee, the city waking around him like an indifferent beast. Hours passed in fragments, joggers pounding pavement, ferries moaning into the harbor, each one a reminder that life churned on, with or without his heart intact. By the time he returned to the loft, Adrian was gone. A note on the counter, meeting Tyler at noon. Back by dinner. Love you. The words blurred through tears Isaiah dashed away. Love. What a fragile thread. He threw himself into work. The sewing machines were a metronome against despair. A new commission. capes for a drag troop's AIDS benefit, each one a tapestry of survivor stories, silk screen-printed with fists raised, hems weighted with brass knuckles of memory. Stitching grounded him, needle-piercing fabric like confessions. But midway through, his phone lit up, a voicemail from his mother, voice tentative. "Isaiah, honey, your father's sick. Pneumonia. Come home." The plea twisted the knife home, where his style was still that nonsense. His love unspoken sin. He drove to Queens that afternoon, the old Crown Vic rattling over potholes like bones. The brownstone hadn't changed. Peeling paint, Virgin Mary statue in the yard glaring judgment. Inside, hospital bed in the living room, his father wheezing under oxygen tubes, skin sallow as old newsprint. Mom hovered, rosary clicking like a countdown. "He asked for you," she said, avoiding his eyes that flicked to his outfit, a simple hoodie over cargos, still too fancy for her tastes. "Dad," Isaiah knelt, taking the gnarled hand that once fixed model trains with him. The man's eyes, faded blue, sharpened. "Son, heard about your coats. Saving folks." Cough racked him, but he gripped tighter. "Proud. Always was." The confession hung, raw as exposed wiring. Isaiah's throat closed. All those years of silence. And now, on the edge. "I love you," he whispered, the words a dam breaking. Dad nodded, spent. Mom watched, tears carving tracks. "We should have said it sooner." The visit lingered like smoke, softening edges. Back in Brooklyn, Isaiah channeled it into designs, coats with hidden compartments for meds, linings printed with affirmations. Adrian returned that evening, eyes red-rimmed. "Tyler's out. For good. Told him if he can't respect you, he loses me." Relief crashed over Isaiah, pulling Adrian into a fierce embrace. "Thank you." They cooked pasta Alfredo, wine flowing, laughter reclaiming space. But Tyler's shadow loomed. A package arrived days later, Adrian's old sketchbooks, mailed with a note, "Keep the fairy tales." Reality bites. Winter holidays approached, a gauntlet of cheer Isaiah both craved and dreaded. They opted for a low-key Christmas. Tree from a lot strung with LED garlands. Isaiah wired himself, gifts wrapped in fabric scraps. Adrian's present, a custom leather portfolio etched with their skyline, drew gasps. Isaiah's for him, a suit of smoked velvet, cut to hug every line. "For your next show," he said, voice thick. They made love by firelight from the radiator, slow and reverent, bodies a liturgy of forgiveness. New Year's brought resolve. Isaiah's line caught a designer's eye, a big name, Vera Wong Scout at the pop-up. "Raw, real, let's collab." The offer was a lifeline, atelier space in Chelsea, mentorship, a shot at Fashion Week. Ecstasy hit like champagne bubbles. Adrian hooped, spinning him in the kitchen. "This is it. Is your moment." But doubt whispered, "They'll change you. Tone it down." The collab started electric. Mood boards of urban grit meets high glam. Isaiah's flair tempered by Vera's precision. He thrived, sketching till fingers cramped. Adrian crashing sessions with takeout and encouragement. But pressures mounted. Tyler resurfaced via mutuals, spreading rumors. Adrian's whipped by the dress-up doll. It reached the atelier, whispers among assistants, an intern's side-eye at Isaiah's eccentric slacks. He shrugged it off, but it gnawed. Then the betrayal landed like a gut punch. Adrian's phone buzzed during a late fitting. A text from an unknown number. Isaiah glimpsed it. Tell your boy to stick to costumes. Real art doesn't sparkle. Sender, Mark, forwarding Tyler's venom. Worse, Adrian's reply, not now, man. Complicated. Complicated. The word ignited fury. You're still talking to them? Isaiah hurled the bolt of silk across the room. Adrian paled. Just to shut them down, I swear. Lies or not, trust fractured. Arguments escalated. Isaiah accusing Adrian of divided loyalties. Adrian pleading exhaustion from the siege. I'm fighting for us every day. One night, it boiled over. Adrian, after a gallery rejection that stung his pride, lashed out. Maybe if you dialed back the drama queen vibe, they'd leave us alone. The room went arctic. Isaiah's laugh was shards of glass. There it is. The truth under the rainbow bullshit. He packed a bag that hour, crashing at Jax's in the village. The couch was lumpy, but solitude was surgical. Days blurred. Atelier by day, dives by night, drowning doubts in gin and grinders. Adrian's texts piled, come home. I was wrong. Isaiah read them in the dark. Thumb hovering over reply. Heart a battlefield. Fashion Week loomed. His collection the centerpiece. Threads of resilience. Pieces blending survival gear with couture. Jackets with solar panels. Dresses that concealed trackers. Rehearsals were grueling. Models striding runways in his visions made flesh. Vera praised. You've got fire, kid. But Isaiah's fire dimmed. Smiles forced. Jax noticed, dragging him to a queer open mic in the Bowery. On stage, a poet spat verses about loving fiercely amid hate. We are the sequins in the storm. Isaiah clapped till palms burned, a spark reigniting. Adrian showed up unannounced, disheveled in the back row. After, he cornered Isaiah in the alley, rain sheeting down. I fucked up. Bad. But losing you, that's the real death. Tears mixed with droplets. Adrian's hands framing Isaiah's face. Your style isn't drama. It's you. Bright, unbreakable. I need that light. Isaiah wavered, the pull magnetic. Prove it. One more time. They reconciled in Jax's guest room. Bodies urgent with amends. Whispers weaving vows. Adrian quit the toxic group chat. Blocked numbers like cutting cords. Spring teased with cherry blossoms in Central Park. Their walks hand in hand a ritual of renewal. Isaiah's collection finalized. A masterpiece of defiance. The showstopper. A cape of mirrored shards reflecting the audience back at themselves. Ugly and beautiful. But fate twisted. 2 weeks before the show, Adrian vanished midday. Phone dead. Loft empty. Panic clawed Isaiah, visions of accidents. Abductions. He scoured the city. Galleries. Bars. The bridge where they'd kissed at midnight. Dusk fell. Desperation peaking. Then a call from Bellevue ER. Adrian. Overdose attempt. Pills and whiskey. Note scribbled. Can't fight them and you. Sorry. Isaiah's world imploded. He raced crosstown. The cab a blur of horns and lights. In the sterile room, Adrian lay pale, for dripping salvation. He rasped. I sunken. Isaiah gripped the rail, fury and fear warring. Why? We were winning. Adrian's sob was guttural. Tyler cornered me. Said I'd end up alone. A joke like you. It broke something. The confession sliced. Tyler's poison. Adrian's fragility. Nights blurred in vigil. Isaiah at bedside, sketching designs on napkins to stay sane. Mom called, voice steady. Family holds on. Mijo, Dad, recovering. Sent a check. For the fancy coats. Gestures small but seismic. Adrian stabilized. Therapy mandated group sessions for queer survivors, where he spilled Ohio ghosts. Isaiah attended, holding space, his own scars airing like laundry. Fashion Week dawned humid and hopeful. Isaiah's show, the tent in Lincoln Center pulsing with energy, front row a mix of allies and skeptics. Models emerged, diverse bodies in resilient threads, capes billowing like wings. Adrian watched from wings, sober and supportive, hand in Isaiah's. The finale, Isaiah striding out in the mirrored cape, audience reflected in infinite facets. Applause thundered, Vera hugging him fierce. You did it, but backstage, elation cracked. A reporter cornered Adrian. How's it feel dating the next big thing? Adrian's smile faltered. He's always been the big thing, yet Isaiah caught the flicker old insecurities. As flashes popped, Tyler's face appeared in the crowd, uninvited, smirk venomous. He'd come to gloat, or sabotage, the after-party at the Standard pulsed with champagne and chaos. Isaiah navigated egos, Adrian at his side. But Tyler approached, suit crisp, words slick. Congrats, Fairy. Hope the sparkle lasts. Adrian tensed, but Isaiah stepped up, voice calm. It will. Unlike your grip on him, Tyler laughed, but eyes darted, defeat masked as disdain. He slunk away, but not before whispering to a server, who spilled red wine across Isaiah's pristine shirt mid-toast. Stains spread like blood, gasps rippling. Isaiah froze, the mockery crashing, clumsy queen. But Adrian knelt, blotting with a napkin, voice low. Wear it like war paint. The crowd watched, tension electric. Isaiah straightened, raising his glass, wine-dyed, defiant. To stains that tell stories. Cheers. Laughter erupted, turning tide. Vera clapped his back. Iconic, yet the night soured. Adrian pulled Isaiah aside, face ashen. Tyler's texting me again. Threats, says he'll out my weakness to the art world. Out as in the attempt, the therapy. Isaiah's blood ran cold. Block him. Report it. But Adrian hesitated. Fears gripped tight. He knows too much. The after-party's glow faded into a hangover of revelations. The high lines elevated tracks a lonely runway for Isaiah's pacing at 3 a.m. Adrian had crashed at the loft. Phone silenced. But sleep eluded him, tossing to nightmares of Tyler's smirk morphing into nooses. Isaiah chain-smoked on the fire escape, city lights blurring through smoke, each exhale a purge of the night's residue. Wine stains could be scrubbed, but Tyler's threats? They festered like untreated wounds. Morning brought clarity, sharp as black coffee. Isaiah woke Adrian with takeout bagels. No accusations, just resolve. We end this. Together. Adrian nodded, hollow but willing, handing over his phone. They scrolled the texts. Tyler's escalation from barbs to blackmail, screenshots of Adrian's therapy notes, pilfered God knows how, captioned pathetic. Your crowd will eat you alive. Isaiah's stomach churned. This is harassment. Cops. Adrian balked. Ohio paranoia surfacing. They'll twist it. Make me the fragile gay boy. Isaiah cupped his face, thumbs tracing jawline. or the survivor who fought back. I'm with you. They filed the report at the precinct in Chelsea, a fluorescent purgatory of forms and skeptical nods. Detective Ruiz, a butch Latina with tattooed knuckles, took it seriously. Stalking's no joke. Restraining order incoming. As they left, her card burned in Isaiah's pocket like a talisman. The days post-show were a whirlwind. Press junkets praising Isaiah's raw authenticity, orders flooding for his line. Vera fast-tracked a capsule collection, billboards teasing Isaiah Kane, where your fight. But success amplified shadows. Paparazzi snapped them at brunch, new queer power couple. Headlines that thrilled and terrified. Adrian retreated into sketches, his exhibit postponed amid the drama. I feel like dead weight, he confessed one night, charcoal-smudged fingers trembling. Isaiah pulled him close, their bodies aligning like puzzle pieces worn smooth. You're my weight. Keeps me grounded. Lovemaking followed, tender and anchoring, Adrian's lips mapping collarbones, Isaiah's hands weaving through hair like threads. Post-climax haze. They talked futures. A joint studio in the Hudson Valley. Adoptions, maybe. A life beyond the city's grind. Dreams stitched hope. Fragile but fierce. Tyler's retaliation struck midweek. Anonymous posts hit Isaiah's Insta. Doctored pics of him in ridiculous outfits. Captioned fashion fraud. Saved by style? More like styled by delusion. The subway story twisted into mockery. Hero or hype? Comments piled, trolls dredging old high school taunts. Isaiah's mentions exploded. Brand deals wobbling. He deleted, blocked, but the damage seeped. Sleep fractured. Mirrors avoided. Worse, Adrian cracked. A call from the detective. Tyler violated the order, spotted lurking outside the loft. Adrian confronted him in the alley, voices rising. Isaiah arrived to chaos. Adrian shoving Tyler against brick, Tyler swinging wild. You ruined me, Adrian yelled, fist connecting with jaw. Tyler crumpled, bloodied lip, sirens wailing distant. The fallout was biblical. Tyler pressed charges, assault, dragging Adrian to court. Isaiah stood by him at arraignment, holding clammy hands in the courthouse's marble chill. Self-defense, the lawyer argued, but Tyler's tears sold victimhood. Media swarmed, designer drama, lovers brawl rocks fashion week. Isaiah's name dragged through mud, sponsors pulling back. Too messy, one emailed. Vera held firm, but whispers grew his boyfriend's trouble. Isolation clawed in. Mom visited, bearing tamales and tough love. Fight dirty if you must, but don't lose yourself, Dad. Via Zoom from recovery, grunted approval. Punch back with smarts. Son. Isaiah channeled rage into a protest piece. A gown of shredded headlines, worn to a gala with Adrian on arm, bruised but unbowed. Flashes popped. Statements issued. Creativity thrives in adversity. But the trial loomed like storm clouds. Prep sessions drained. Adrian reliving the alley, Tyler spinning tales of provocation. Isaiah attended every deposition, his presence a shield. One evening, post-grilling, Adrian broke in the car. I can't do this without you. But I'm dragging you down. Isaiah killed the engine, turning full. Down? This is our story, messy. Real. I choose it. Intimacy became lifeline. Stolen moments in green rooms, fingers laced under tables. Adrian's sketches evolved, portraits of Isaiah as Phoenix, rising from ash. You're my redemption, he murmured. brushstrokes soft on canvas. Isaiah believed it until the night before trial. Adrian vanished again, not to ER, but to a dive in Hell's Kitchen, drowning fears in solo shots. Isaiah found him slumped at the bar, eyes glassy. Needed space. To not fuck you over more. The fight erupted raw. Isaiah hauling him out. Words weapons. Space? That's Tyler's lie. You're running. Adrian shoved back, slurring. Maybe he's right. I'm poison. Rain lashed as they argued under awnings. Truth spilling. Isaiah confessed his own doubts, the fear Adrian's fragility would eclipse his rise. Adrian admitted envy, the spotlight's glare on Isaiah magnifying his own stalls. I love you too much to hold you back. Catharsis came in sobs, bodies colliding not in anger but release. They stumbled home, shedding wet clothes, making love with desperate grace, forgiveness etched in every gasp. Dawn brought vows, therapy together, boundaries with ghosts. Trial day arrived sweltering, courtroom a pressure cooker. Tyler took the stand, crocodile tears flowing. He attacked unprovoked, because of his boyfriend's influence. Gasps. The judge's gavel like thunder. Adrian's turn. Voice steady, recounting threats. The order breach. I defended myself. From years of poison. Evidence mounted, texts. Witness statements from neighbors who'd seen Tyler lurking. Isaiah testified last. Heart pounding. Adrian's not violent. He's healing. Tyler? He's the fracture. The DA nodded. Cross-exam fierce. Tyler crumbled under scrutiny. Lies fracturing. Verdict. Not guilty. Relief hit like oxygen after drowning. Hugs in the hall. Flashes blinding. Tyler slunk out. Order extended. Tail between legs. Media spun redemption. Love wins in court of law. But victory tasted bittersweet. Scars lingered. Trust a work in progress. Summer bloomed. Healing tentative. Isaiah's line relaunched stronger. Capsule drops selling out. Billboards proclaiming style saves lives. A TEDx invite followed. Fashion as armor. Adrian's exhibit opened to raves. His series reflected selves selling pieces. They moved to a larger loft in Dumbo. Views of the bridges symbolizing crossings made. Yet conflict simmered. At a launch party, old wounds reopened. Mark approached. Olive branch extended. Tyler's out of the picture. Water under. Isaiah eyed him cool. Bridges burn for a reason. Adrian backed him, arm linked. But later, whispers. Mark pitching Adrian a collab. Sans the drama. Adrian declined, but the seed planted doubt. High summer heat wave tested them. Isaiah jetted to LA for fittings. Adrian staying for installs. Distance bred insecurity. Late night calls laced with miss you, but silence is heavy. A tabloid blind item. Fashion stars bow eyes solo flight? Isaiah confronted on return. Airport pickup tense. It's nothing gossip, but Adrian's evasion stung. Or is it Tyler's echo? The blow-up was epic. Accusations flying. Suitcases half-packed. Isaiah stormed to the roof. City sprawl mocking their fragility. Adrian followed. Voice breaking. I'm scared. Of losing you to the lights. Isaiah turned. Rain of sweat beating. Then fight with me. Not against. They collapsed against AC units. Tears salting skin. Reconciliation in raw honesty. We're flawed. But we're us. Autumn whispered change. Isaiah's father visited. Suit traded for sweats, acceptance in gestures. Brought tools. Fix that leaky sink. Bonding over wrenches. Dad eyed a design rack. Not bad. Practical. Mom joined. Rainbow scarf peeking from her purse. Isaiah's gift. Worn proud. Family mended. Threads rewoven. But the ultimate test brewed. Tyler, undeterred, leaked Adrian's old journals, pages of self-loathing, suicide ideations to a gossip site. Inside the mind of fashion's fragile flame. Shame flooded Adrian. Retreat to bed for days. Isaiah raged, suing for defamation, but the damage was psychic. They see me broken, Adrian whispered, curled fetal. Isaiah's response, a public act. At his next show, Fall-Winter Resilience, he walked with Adrian, both in coordinated chaos, jackets of journal pages, redacted but raw, projected on screens. Narration. Isaiah's voice, steady. Style isn't perfection. It's scars sewn visible. Crowd hushed, then roared, standing ovation, tears flowing. Vera called it genius. Tyler's site crashed under backlash. His name toxic. The roar of that ovation echoed into eternity, a thunderclap sealing their pact against the storm. Backstage, amid floral tributes and champagne flutes, Isaiah pulled Adrian into a shadowed corner, their foreheads touching like conspirators. We did that. Together. Adrian's smile was tentative, eyes still shadowed by the leak's bruise, but his hand squeezed Isaiah's with iron resolve. Yeah. We owned it. The night dissolved into afterglow. Toasts from jacks. Dances under disco balls. Bodies pressed in rhythm, a reclamation of joy. Winter returned gentler this time, snow dusting the Dumbo loft like powdered sugar on beignet. Isaiah's line exploded, pop-ups in Tokyo, features in Vogue calling him the voice of vulnerable Vogue. But success's siren song tempted isolation. Travel schedules clashed, calls shortened to voice memos. Adrian's art surged too, galleries clamoring for reflected selves expansions, commissions from queer nonprofits. They adapted, date nights via video, Isaiah in Milan Hotel, Adrian sketching Brooklyn stoops, sharing screens like shared sheets. Fractures healed incrementally. Joint therapy became ritual sessions in a sunlit office near the promenade, unpacking Tyler's ghost. He was my mirror of inadequacy, Adrian admitted once, voice steady. The therapist, a soft-spoken elder gay with 80s earring, nodded. Mirrors shatter. Build new ones. Isaiah shared too. The subway save as origin myth. Style as salvation. It's not armor, it's invitation. See me. All of me. Holidays healed further. Christmas at the Queen's brownstone. Dad's rebuilt strength-carving turkey. Mom in Isaiah's scarf leading carols. Adrian shyly joining Grace. Family, he whispered later. Snow falling soft outside. Isaiah's ring, simple silver band etched with intertwined threads, slipped onto Adrian's finger over pie. Practice run. Adrian's gasp. Then kiss. Forever yes. Spring unfurled scandals anew. Tyler's downfall. Arrested for doxing in another case. His finance job torched. Schadenfreude attempted, but Isaiah demurred. Let karma thread the needle. Instead, they volunteered at a shelter, Isaiah teaching sewing circles, Adrian portrait sessions for the unhoused. Echoes of that subway stranger, lives mended in small stitches. Summer solstice brought the proposal, unscripted and sublime. Central Park at golden hour, blanket spread with prosciutto sandwiches and sketchpads. Adrian knelt first. Ring glinting vintage. Bezel set with a sapphire like Isaiah's eyes. Marry me? In chaos and couture. Isaiah laughed through tears, pulling him up. Hell yes. But I topped the cake. Vows planned for fall. Intimate, under bridges, guests in custom threads. Yet climax crested unexpected. A heat wave gripped the city. Subways stalled. Power flickering. Isaiah. Mid-market run for trims. Crammed into a car like sardines. Irony thick as the air. An elder collapsed nearby. Heatstroke seizing. Gasps ragged. Deja vu slammed. Isaiah's scarf silk. Cooling yanked free. Draped like a compress. But more, his jacket. Engineered with phase change fabric from the collab. Pulled taut as a tourniquet on swollen ankles. Cooling panels activated by body heat. Panic swelled. But Isaiah commanded, "Windows! Air!" Commuters complied. His voice cutting fog. He fanned with a sketchpad. Narrated calm. "Breathe easy. Sir, we got you." Paramedics boarded at the next stop. Elder stabilized. That jacket? Genius. Dropped his temp 10 degrees. Isaiah. Drenched but elated. Texted Adrian. Style saves again. Hero twice over. News cycled it. Designers daredevil fashion foils heatstroke horror. Interviews followed. Isaiah crediting Adrian. My muse. My method. Tyler's irrelevance cemented. Public forgetfulness the truest justice. Fall wedding dawned crisp. Brooklyn Botanic Garden awash in amber leaves. Aisle of recycled silk runners. Officiant a drag mama from the troupe. Vows raw. Isaiah's. I promise to stitch your shadows with my light. Adrian's. To wear your colors. Even in storms. Rings exchanged, matching. Engraved threads eternal. Dance floor erupted. Mom two-stepping. Dad clapping offbeat. Jack's DJing anthems. Honeymoon in the Catskills. Cabin by lake. Days hiking in matching flannels. Nights stargazing. Bodies entwined. This is us? Adrian murmured. Head on Isaiah's chest. Unbroken. Isaiah traced constellations. Reflected infinite. Years wove forward. Isaiah's empire. Cane couture. Lines for every body. Scholarships for queer designers. Adrian's murals graced subways. Portraits of survivors. Style as story. They adopted. Little Jamal. Curls wild as Isaiah's. Adopted from the system that nearly claimed Adrian. Family photos. 3 on the pier. Scarves fluttering. Laughter eternal. Betrayals faded to footnotes. Conflicts to chapters closed. One evening. Subway bound with Jamal giggling between. An elder boarded, frail. Familiar. The first save. Eyes lighting. You. The scarf boy. Changed my life. Got clean. Now mentoring. Isaiah hugged him fierce. Adrian's hand warm. Full circle. In quiet moments. Isaiah sketched still visions of futures. Threads infinite. Style hadn't just saved lives. It wove them whole. In America's vast tapestry, flawed, fierce, they were the bold stitch. Unapologetic. Alive. And in the end, as snow fell once more, Adrian whispered against Isaiah's neck. They mocked us once. Now, we mock the mirrors. Laughter rose, warm as dawn, binding them eternal.